with professional reports, they're valid for tribunal for 18 months from the point of submission.
Yeah.
You need to really consider about the timescales. So if you have an EHCP and you think, and you know, I'm talking now about professional reports that you are engaging, because the local authority aren't going to give you anything new. It's not in their best interest to. They have no interest in doing that. You're not going to get each annual review. The local authority are not going to be upgrading your reports. So if you want decent report, you're going to have to go privately.
Unless it's written into your EHCP section F that the SALT will update the report.
Update it, which you can have. Sometimes it is just saying that if it's therapeutic, if it's assault, if it's OT, they may say that they will do a report for annual review. Doesn't always say they're going to do ongoing after that. So that's kind of
Sarah, if you had a child who was doing going into transition year, say they're year 6 now, they've got an EHCP, it's an elderly EHCP, I don't know, they've had it since year 1, and they're moving to year 7, and you want to do professional reports to make sure that EHCP is bang up to date, and if the local authority ignore them, you're prepared to go to tribunal to get them put in. When thinking it's August now, when would you do those professional reports?
Well, if you look at an EHCP that is way out of date all the way through, you know you're going to go to appeal. So you would look at what you've got. So if that was me, I would get that EHCP at least checked for legality.
Yeah.
So I would have that come in and I would look through that. Let's get this specified and quantified all the way through. Let's have a look at where the gaps are. Let's have a look at how old the provision and needs are. If we're looking at, you know, little Sammy here at nursery, well, and little Sammy is,
and he's now 10. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd look at that and think, well, that's not applicable at all. And, you know, little Sammy, since being at nursery, is now school, you know, he's now got school avoidance. He is now struggling with his handwriting. He, you know, he's now looking like there could be some specific learning difficulty that wasn't picked up before then. There's a lot of that that's going to be changed at annual review. Is that really going to change? Not likely. But if you've got an idea of what you're looking at, then you're looking, okay, you've got 2 choices. You can engage a new EP report and you can get that done for your annual review. However, your appeal, transition appeals, should be expedited and should happen before the September that the child goes to the next school. They'll be in date. Or you can wait and you can book your EP in. And I would say, because you get your phase transition, if you're going up to primary, secondary, that'll happen. Your EHCP will not land in your inbox on the 15th of February. If you're post 16, 31st of March, I would book your EP in for beginning February. Ask them how long it's going to take them to get the report out to you. You've got your report, you've got your evidence. You then get ready.
You need to appeal, because that's the problem, isn't it? It's too late. What you can't do, I agree, Sarah. I would be finding an EP. You have the EHCP check done now. You can. I mean, there's a number of ways to do that. We've got 2 really thorough draft EHCP checking webinars. You can do it yourself with the use of those. You can use a service to check your EHCP for you. If you're using a service, make sure it is reputable. Before you part with any money, make sure it's reputable. So you have it checked. That will signpost you where you need to go for evidence. So you might do a check for a family and say, you know, you need to be getting better OT advice, or you need SALT advice, or you need EP advice, or you need a mixture. You commission those people now. You can't wait until the 15th of February, because if you wait until the 15th of February, the local authority play a blinder and go mainstream secondary school with a rubbish EHCP, off you go, my love. It's too late. You put in an appeal, your appeal is going to be heard Well, any time from April onwards, depending on how quickly you get in your appeal, it's not time. You're going to be sat on waiting lists for an EP. You won't have time to get the EP done. So realistically, you need to get them commissioned beforehand. That might mean paying for them and then not needing to use them if the local authority name your preferred school. But that's a risk you've got to take.
Having them to update your EHCP is never going to be a bad thing.
No.
Not having them, B, as we know, B plus F equal I. If your B does not have all your child's needs there, you're not going to have the provision, you're not going to have the placement. The biggest thing is that therapists, particularly EPs, are going to get booked up, and they're going to get booked up now for children at phase transition. And if you don't book in now, you won't get one. And by the time you get to have your phase transition EHCP back in your inbox, you will not see anybody for dust. And this is what we see this now. We have people who have had to wait, and they're saying, but I haven't got my EP report in yet. I haven't got this in yet. And it just drags out. And this is the thing with the EHCPs. Don't look at this week. Don't look at next month. Look at next year.
Yeah.
Always look as far ahead as possible and be prepared as far as possible. If your child is at phase transition this September, as in you're having your phase transition annual review this September, look at schools now. Don't wait until February. Look now, speak to people now, have a look at what's available now so that you know what you're looking at, the type of school that's available for secondary, for example.
In fact, if your child's year 5, do it now as well. And the other thing just to say is that if you are in transition and you have an independent EP report done and your local authority name your preferred school, but they're not going to add all the EP stuff in as well. They're just not. You can still go to tribunal for B&F. I've told you about a case that the local authority conceded last week that I'd done exactly the same, a transition. The parent had an independent EP done, cracking independent EP report. The local authority named the preferred school, which was a maintained secondary school with a resource base. They named that, happy days, but they hadn't put the provision. So the school weren't necessarily going to have to provide it. So the parents still went to tribunal for B&F, and the local authority conceded and cracking EHCP as a result. So it doesn't need to be wasted.